Hi, I'm Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today is Thursday, June 7th, 2018, as I'm recording today's show. And I'm just back from a 7-day trip to the United Astrology Conference in Chicago. I was so fortunate to be amongst over 1,500 astrologers from all over the world. And what an exciting event. Amazing. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be able to have new knowledge, new tools to integrate into the practice that I am currently utilizing in astrology and helping others with, because that's what it's all about. And so there's many methods that I learned, and I'm hoping to integrate those into my classes and into my readings. And, you know, through all of this and the conference, I'm reminded of the principles taught by Hermes Trismetigus that remain constant like a thread running through the fabric of humanity, which is, as above, so below, and as within, so without. It's so important because an astrology chart is truly a simple reflection of what is above, and it's gift from our divine creator that acts as a tool of understanding of what's within us, because it is what we are made up of and soon manifests through experience outside of us. It shows how we are a part of the whole and where we register in time, and what we bring here as talents, as areas of growth. And so it's an incredibly helpful tool. And it is an astrologer's job to simply remind others of their divine connection and to offer remedies for understanding and healing. So today's show, I'm going to be talking about a couple different main topics. One being June 2018 Astrology Forecast. The new moon, which is Wednesday, June 13th, next week of 2018, where the sun and moon will be together at 22 degrees and 47 minutes in Gemini, which is, I'm going to show you that chart, which is right here on this chart, the sun and the moon together in Gemini at 22 degrees. And I'll be referring back to this throughout the show. And it does lead up to a full moon on Thursday, June 26th, which will be at 6 degrees of Capricorn. And so I'll be talking about what is starting on this new moon, because that is truly what a new moon does. And, you know, during these shows, you hear me talk about the influences of the new moon and what that means to you, and how you can use that or align with that in your life. And it gives us a, confirmation that we're on the right track, that things are in perfect order. So the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is Mars and its 6-month journey through Aquarius. Very, very important, because Mars goes retrograde this year. It does not do that every year. It normally is 6 weeks in one sign. So that's an important topic. Uranus and Taurus, I'm going to be talking about those influences. This is the big talk in astrology. Many different factors have been concentrated on this energy, because Uranus has not been in this constellation since the 30s, the 1930s. So I'm going to just dive into talking about the new moon in Gemini. It occurs in the universal chart, meaning universal chart is a chart created based at a certain particular moment in time. And I look at it to see the overall influences to everyone here on Earth. So that's what I'm talking about during today's show. And that new moon is in the 8th house, which you saw earlier. This is the 8th house, which rules over other people's money. It's other people's investments. It's insurance companies, large corporations. It's the mortgage companies. It's also sex, it's death, it's recovery from things that we're experiencing in our life. So you can see that there is a combination of energy, meaning planets, in this 8th house. And Gemini refers to communication, conversation, our thinking strategies. And as I said before, that this 8th house brings to light investments, stock markets, hidden realms, and some uneasiness, unclarity in regards of how to consider information that we have at hand. And, how are we going to transition through this time with all these things that are brought up, which I talked about earlier? All this news about sexual accusations. We see that abound. My daughter made a really good statement. It's almost like the Salem witchcraft trials with all the accusations and finger pointing that's going on. And all the talk. It's in the news. Gemini is in the news. Moving forward, there are some hard aspects to that new moon, which I'm going to talk about moving forward. And Mercury moving into Cancer gives us the mindset to be gentler, nurturing in our approach to discuss these events. So I'm going to talk a little bit about taking a further look at the new moon, using the Sabian symbol for this new moon. Sabian symbol is a tool that we can use to get further information about any particular degree in any sign. And this particular Sabian symbol, we'd be looking to 23 Gemini, and symbols use pictures to symbolize experience. So this new moon paints a picture for us of, a small group of birds, little birds, young birds, and up high in a tree in a nest. This suggests situations of young people or people gathered together in a nest, possibly siblings, neighbors, sharing in living space or sharing space as they grow in maturity. This is what I would call a very promising picture for the future, even though individuals, by this picture may not appear to be mature enough to make it on their own, meaning they require help and support from those that live with them. The symbol here is one that tells us that independence will come, and you may soon be able to become even more independent. The symbol here is also one that speaks of figuring out how to get along. Gemini energy is very free-spirited, yet likes to have the nest or the home to return to. So it is through this symbol I perceive it will take time to gain the maturity to take off and fly. Gemini is the sign that rules over siblings, neighbors, contracts, agreements. It's a sign that offers a realization of the duality of life. It's one of the many dual signs. It offers mastery with words and problem solving. So that energy is around us. And it really does help us. It's an outside influence that shows us that these skills are present for us. And I did want to say, because it's June, happy birthday to all the Geminis out there. I wish you a year of good health, prosperity, and happiness. If you're a Gemini, if you're a Sagittarius, if you're a Pisces or a Virgo with a birthday between the 10th and 17th of your birth month, you will experience this energy the most of this new moon, meaning that you'll notice something ending and something new beginning. Also, if you're born between the 10th and the 17th of February or October or April, April or August, you will also be influenced by this time. Typically, those months, if you had any, like I said, birthdays around the 10th or the 17th, you would be experiencing relief in your life, meaning that there's good things coming your way, that you'll be welcoming things. So, moving on, I did want to say that this is a very important new moon, as it is the last astrology month cycle before the first solar eclipse of the summer enters in July. And it's going to be a powerful summer filled with fiery influences. July, we have the first solar eclipse north node, and then at the end of July we have the first lunar eclipse, which is a south node, meaning the past returns to remind us of things gone by in relationships, and I'll accentuate on that in future shows. And then we have the third eclipse, which is in August, which is a solar eclipse. So we have 2 solar eclipses and 1 lunar eclipse this summer. So it is going to be powerful. However, this month presents us with the opportunity to finish up patterns that began with the eclipses at the beginning of the year, meaning whatever, wherever, and however you've experienced growth and change since the beginning of the year. This is the month where you find some closure so that new doors ahead can open. I always look at the eclipses as portals or markers of where change comes, and then I sort of map out the angles from month to month to month till there's a new set of eclipses. And the last month before a new set of eclipses is why I say that that's where we're at, and that's why it's a time of closure or endings in preparation for new beginnings. So this month brings some of those chapters to a close. Our drive and our emotional expressions will be most focused with this Gemini new moon on communications, gathering information, checking in with others who are going through big changes in their lives, offering ideas from our banks of knowledge and experience. And I want to mention, just prior to the new moon, the sun and the moon formed a square to Neptune, which looks like we might be juggling more than our share for a bit of time. Squares can be indicators of where fear and worry can easily find a nest. And the resolution for an aspect like this is to take things one little step at a time. And you've heard the expression, less is more, even though it appears that doing more is what is required. But less is more. Slow it down. Do one thing at a time. Somebody very special told me that when I was having some anxiety. I've got all this work to do. What do? I can't do it all at once. Take one thing and do one thing at a time. That works really well. And in this chart, there is what I call a trining aspect of relief formed between Jupiter, retrograde in Scorpio, and Neptune in Pisces, which offers help, kindness, and generosity. So we can expect this during this new moon period as well. Between June 13th and June 28th, from the new moon to the full moon, you'll likely experience lots of chatter about how best to manage life through this time of transition and growth. By the time the full moon arrives on June 28th, it is likely you'll have a full picture of what works, what doesn't work, who is responsible for what, and what life tools will work best along this path. Gemini brings in communication, negotiations with many, and it leads up to business decisions and awareness by the full moon on the 28th of the know-how of how to build those structures and how to climb to that next plateau. Now I want to talk a little bit about Mars in Aquarius for the next 6 months because it does go retrograde, like I said earlier. And retrograde means appearing to go backward in time, going back over things that we've already gone over. Normally, Mars spends about 6 weeks in one constellation. However, Mars being in Aquarius is a dynamic opportunity for evolution and human consciousness. Mars being in Aquarius inspires actions and activities to be more intellectually processed and for strategy to be utilized to achieve what is best for everyone. Aquarius, if you go back to ancient times, was the goddess that Athena was associated with Aquarius, and she was the goddess of strategy. You know, how do I do this in a way, strategizing a plan. So that energy is very present for us, and it is actually that we're processing and learning how to utilize to achieve what is best for everyone. And because Mars is in Aquarius, there's a buzz associated with this due to that Uranian influence, as Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and with Mars being in Aquarius, Uranus energy is present. A nice reminder with this energy is to consider your actions carefully. Are the actions you're about to take best for everyone? If not, let's strategize. Let's think about alternatives. How or why or when can we do something that will make a difference to everybody, not just the one? You'll be inspired to intellectualize your movements and actions beforehand. You may find you're more intuitive about what others' actions might be. Others might be more intuitive about what your actions might be. Aquarius inspires connecting and unity, not separation. It's a sign of humanitarian efforts. This is a time that will inspire us to work things out with more objectivity and harmony. It's possible during this time you decide to take an action to help and strategize with another, a friend, or a community member toward a goal that is best for everyone involved. Or it could be that someone offers you their ideas, and it's time for you to learn how to accept this and realize the gift that they're offering. From about May 13th until June 26th is a period of what I call foreshadowing of what will be once again reviewed when Mars goes retrograde, which begins on June 26th. So basically May 13th through June 26th, which is the period of time we're in right now, is that precursor or pre-shadow. What we're active in right now will be something that we take on more of an internal review as Mars begins its retrograde. And Mars in Aquarius retrograde may bring rebellion against yourself or seeing yourself and recognizing your own inner disconnects or rebelliousness. So it may be a real eye-opener for you to see these things. I always like to think of retrogrades as providing us with the means to a brighter future. Also, in reviewing and viewing the chart, Mars in the chart is conjunct or right beside the South Node. I'm going to show you what that looks like. That's right here. Mars is conjunct the South Node in Aquarius. And that means that our past rises to our consciousness as a reflection of how we've handled the duality of our human nature. There's a strong balancing act going on above, and it's inspiring us to express from our hearts, taking into account our neighbors, our friends, our family, our community, any type of group, any place where people come together. So put yourself in someone else's shoes before you act. That's a strong reminder with Mars in Aquarius. We're so much stronger when we unite. And I think there's an old Native American saying that says, "Walk a mile in my footsteps before you judge me." So to summarize this period of time, pay close attention to where your activities are, because these will be areas reviewed from June 26th through August 27th. While Mars is in Aquarius, May 16th through November 15th, we're reminded of our unitedness and that we really are all connected. However, Mars is the male factor. It is the animal within. And so you might look at your energy and ask, am I more of the aggressive Mars type or the Venusian loving type? And that's an interesting evaluation. Meaning, and the meaning of it will be, will I take action in an aggressive manner, or will I take action with consideration for my neighbor, my friend, my family member, my community? And as Uranus energy can be electric, which is very, very influential as Mars is in Aquarius, there can be electric, explosive type situations. So it's really important to be aware to respond with gentleness toward all. I remember seeing some news on TV this morning, which aggressive action was taken before intellectual use to the fullest. And I thought, how inhumane. So we're reminded every day of these inhumane actions, but we're also reminded of humane actions. There's many out there who are involved in the support of humane activity. The biggest astrological news lately also that I want to talk about is Uranus's move into Taurus. Now, Taurus energy on a timeline, if you look at it on the Akashic Records timeline, it really dates back to Paleolithic times, where upper Paleolithic Earth Mother cults, agriculture, domestication, and fertility cults were predominant on Earth. So all of the above will be affected by Uranus moving through Taurus. Uranus is associated with explosions, lightning bolts, which are sudden and unexpected, and Taurus is earth and earth matter. So remember, we are a reflection of our Mother Earth, and there are certain areas where she is acting toward the changing forces of Uranus. She's reacting to the changing influential forces of Uranus with earthquakes and volcanoes. We should be aware of how powerful of an influence this is. Like the old saying goes, when Mother is upset, everyone is upset. And I'm referring to Mother as Mother Earth. Through this, I'm reminded that my job as a conscious, loving person is to help, not hurt, those that I know. Be gentle and humane, which is Aquarius, with each other. On this new moon, we also see a square to Uranus in Taurus by Venus moving into Leo. So we see Mars in square, in a passing square to Uranus on this new moon, and Venus in square, which is telltale again of the stressors that surround us both in relationship, and collectively. And as I was preparing for today's show, I found an old Cherokee prayer that I want to share with you. And it goes like this. O Great Spirit, who made all races, look kindly upon the whole human family, and take away the arrogance and hatred which separates us from our brothers. And in conclusion for today's show, I wanted to add a few points about this new moon and its location, which is up here in the 8th house, that the importance of us sharing knowledge and our ideas and remedies and ways that we can help each other through times of change and transition, meaning getting from one end of a particular problem to another end is extremely important. Gemini is the friendly one, the social one, the one that is sort of free, wants to be free like that butterfly to flutter about. It's the one who likes to share news, share information, spreading the news or teaching others information or valuable tools that you've learned during the process of your life is very, very important at this time as Mars moves through Aquarius. That you look at the symbol for Aquarius, it's two snakes. It looks like electricity. These are snakes that are moving, one in one way and one in the other way. And so oftentimes we're, looking at things from different perspectives. And it's with Aquarius, it's a fixed sign, so it's not always easy to be accepting of others' ideas, but when you look at things as a whole, when everyone comes together or one or two come together and discuss strategy and discuss their ideas for means to a better future, there's always a multiple of goodness that comes out of that. So I wanted to just explain that just a little bit further, and I also want to let everyone know that's watching the show that I am going to be downtown in Mount Dora, Florida at every nook and cranny tomorrow, Friday, from 12 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Every Friday from 12 to 5, and we're in the process of setting up classes there for shamanic journeying and practices, and also Astrology 101. So anybody that's interested here in the area would love to see you come by tomorrow between 12 and 5. Again, strategizing and helping and spreading that news of what I can do to help you with astrology, with your life path. And just reminding you all that there is a strong need to look ahead, to think or act with our hearts, through our hearts, but in the same regard, staying connected to the whole, staying connected, our neighbors, our friends, our community, our families, and families most of all, strategizing together to get the best result. So just want to say, take good care, and I will see you very soon. And remember, turn to the stars and you'll find your answers there.